helping make people poorer since 1971.
I hope he does sell some Bitcoin. And I hope when he sells it to buy a country and becomes the GigaChad of that country and goes, Bitcoiners are welcome, come here and do what the fuck you want. And then I'm going to go to his country, buy a little bit of land off him and live there. I hope he does that because...
But what happens if he actually buys a country, builds a Terminator factory?
I know.
And then he sends someone back in time to try and kill you as a baby.
I know. See, that could happen.
Well, the big question is, who introduces now that Darnell isn't here?
I know.
I'm kind of in preset. I just try and make up something that would sound terrible.
Go on, go for it.
Tonight we've got a special episode of the 2Bs, not featuring Miss No Show and not featuring Mr. Never Look or whatever he's Sir Never Look, and it's just Mr. All In and Dr. 10% to talk about this week's topical news.
Well, we're talking about bullish Bitcoin banter and bullshit, aren't we?
Well, it is topical. It's news.
It is.
It's a news which I actually pay attention to because so I was trying to say that I'm basically the Christopher Columbus to Wales, and I was told that I couldn't say that because apparently his statue's been pulled down in San Francisco because he's racist or something. I was like, oh, completely missed that.
No, all these mythical figures, then because they nearly all come from a very old time, that either all racist, sexist, xenophobic, or something. So they're all getting cancelled decades or centuries after they've been heroes. It's like, oh God, we're not going to have a single hero left. If we're going to go back through all our heroes and go, oh, hold on, this guy murdered someone. It's like, well, yeah, everyone murdered people back then. Like that was how he survived. Like the only reason we know him is because he murdered more people than others did. If he was bad at murdering, we wouldn't know who he was.
Yeah, so I've got to refrain from saying things like that, or I'll get cancelled in real life rather than just on a podcast which only one person listens to, and that's because he wants to write in the comments about how good Cum Rocket is.
I must admit, I haven't updated you guys actually, but since we've gone on to
God, you're not into Cum Rocket, are you?
No. Oh fuck. Yeah, I bought a massive bag. No. No, I mean our listeners. So ever since we've gone on to Apple Podcasts and Google, people are finding it. So there are now scraps of listens, just random listens. We've got a big audience. There's some people in Argentina. There was a load of people in Ireland found us last week. So yeah, it's good. It's like now we're on an actual platform where people listen to podcasts. Because weirdly, I think YouTube is just too much. There's just way too much. And I think it's optimized for 20-minute videos. Whereas we're a long form podcast, and that's where the people that want to listen to like longer shows, they are in the podcast world. So on Apple and Google, they're being found, and the views are racking up now. We're being found by people, so we actually have real listeners that we don't know who they are. It's quite cool.
Yeah, one of the guys who I know, he mentioned that he'd listened to one of them yesterday, and he says it was close to the line, so I think he's listened to some of the earlier stuff rather than the later. Otherwise he'd be like, you should be cancelled.
I think we started pretty close to the line and then just carried on going over it. Yeah. I don't think we ever started on the right side of the line. I think that's what I was worried about when I submitted it to Apple. They say they review your podcast and stuff, and I went, oh, I wonder if they're going to listen to the first, like what they're going to listen to, if they're going to like just review it to see if we should be allowed on the platform. And like the first 30 seconds of our first podcast is, I think it's where you go, oh, we need a warning on this or something. And I go, yeah, if you're easily offended, go fuck yourself. Like that's in the first 10 seconds. I'm like,
and what was the second one about our advertising strategy about using glory holes?
Two of our episodes have the word penis in. I'm like, I'm not sure we're going to be quite Apple friendly content, but I was amazed they approved us. We're on there. I'm sure if we ever get an actual following, we'll be very quickly cancelled. At the moment, we're flying under the radar. So anyone listening, I'd think like it like that.
interesting update over the last week is I gave a lift to someone to charity event, and think I'm in the process of orange pilling him. So we'll wait and see, because he's fairly young as well. And I was explaining to him about inflation because he had no clue. And I was like, if you look at your place where you live, your house, it'll climb every week. Every year it'll go up somewhere about 3 to 5%. So he did it on the calculator. He's like, oh, he never understood why his place gained value. And I was like, it's inflation, because your wages just mean less, and assets which people want mean more. And it was a bit of a revelation for him. But I kind of almost wish, because he's a bit younger than me, I would just wish that someone had said that to me, 10, 15 years ago. But then again, I probably would just not realised.
I know. Well, it's amazing, isn't it? I think the same thing. Because I think what everyone likes to think when they get into the property world is everyone likes to think that they're a genius. That, oh yeah, look how much money I'm making. My house is going up in value. And it's a case of, oh, it's not. This money's worth less. So to buy the same, you have to pay more. Like your shopping's going up in value as well. Your petrol goes up in value. So of course your house goes up in value. But it just doesn't matter. Like, are your wages going up as fast as your house is? If it isn't, it means you're taking a pay cut, because your house is not going up in value, it's staying the same.
Yeah, because I was talking about the concept of cheap debt because of all this. And then also he was calling his house an asset. I said, it's not an asset, it's a liability. You spend money on it, you don't make any money, and you can't realise the value of that house unless you sell it, and that means you're homeless.
Exactly.
So, yeah, interesting talk. And like I said, I kind of wish someone had said these kind of things to me, but I'm not entirely sure I would have taken them on board, because I think it's just so far off my radar. Whereas I think he's had a couple of questions in his head saying, why are things going up?
Well, I just think personally, I think if they just spent, say, I don't know, a month or so, instead of doing just basic maths and just learning random trigonometry and freaking sines and cosines, they just replaced 1 month of those lessons and went, we're going to teach you about inflation, and we're going to teach you about how prices go up based on the money supply and all that. I think that would have clicked. But the reality is, no one tells you. And even when you do ask the question, and the people you ask tend to be people you work with, your parents, your friends, no one has the answer. And people just, and like I said, I think people like to think they know why house prices go up. And by and large, it's because they're a genius. And no one's...
I am a genius, so my house price has gone up.
Yeah. It's like, but everyone else's did. Well, they're geniuses as well.
It's actually one which probably leads into a subject. So inflation going up is a good thing. So I think an article which you picked, it was one which I couldn't see because it's a paywall, but I think I searched the title and it came up with some very similar articles. So I took it as maybe I've taken the right article, but I'm not entirely sure. I must have had my monthly allowance to the New York Times.
Oh, actually, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's this didn't have a paywall on it, and then I think this might happen. Sometimes they do this, like they don't put it behind a paywall for the first day or two, and then after that they paywall it. So yeah, it's disappeared for me as well now. But yeah, it's an article from, well, originally in New York Times, but I'll probably have to change the link so people can actually read it. But yeah, they're trying to say that inflation is actually a good thing.
So I took it from Tech Live, and I don't know if it's the same article. And here's a quote from it: help to nudge inflation expectations back out of the dangerously low zone to levels that are historically consistent with healthy price gains. So bear in mind, these are things which inflate people into poverty. Yeah. So, let's translate this from inflation going up is a good thing to it's great being poorer each year as it stimulates your economy, or rather rewards the richer people who can afford to hoover up all the assets at the top of a chain. That's fundamentally what it means. It doesn't mean, whoever like Darren who works at the local supermarket who's going, why on earth can't I afford my Netflix, my rent, my 10 beers a week, because that's what he lives for. And it's because he's being inflated out of what he actually enjoys. So you're going to only have 9 beers or something this year per week. And it's just making him poorer.
Yeah. It's a weird one because we read in the article now, they obviously, they always settle down to go, oh yeah, they completely dismiss if inflation is only 2.5% to 3%, then it will not cause any meaningful problems. It's just, yeah, the economy won't completely collapse, but it means everyone's 3% poorer. And if you're running your life on a currently about a 10% profit margin, based on your spending to earnings, then that 3% now leaves you on 7. So yeah, like you just said, like the luxury spends, which is holidays, your beers, your meals out, you now can do 30% less of that because you only had 10% to spend.
But I'd like to also say, when you talk about 3%,
yeah,
this is an exceptional period. Like, we're talking more like 14-15% over the last 12 months.
Exactly, yeah. And that's why they're trying to go, oh, it will likely just settle down. Yeah, it's way higher now. They reckon it will settle down, which don't give any basis for that. And they go, oh, but don't worry, it won't be like the 1970s where America basically just had crazy inflation and everything got out of control and they went into a recession.
That's because they disconnect themselves from gold and thought no one would notice.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's funny because it's happened every single time. So I've been reading a book called, I think it's Inflation and Price Controls, particularly thrilling for people who, for other people, but it is talking about every single circumstance where it's happened. And it's literally Canada, Germany, UK. I think I've had France, ancient Rome, and it's talking about how they've, I think even like ancient Aztecs. So they inflate the monetary supply and then they try and put price controls on everything, including wages, food. And then all it results in is people going, I can't afford to produce this because you've inflated all the stuff surrounding it. So all my raw materials are more, but you want me to cap my food at this, and I'm actually making a loss doing that food. So farmers stop producing. And that's, the next step along is if we ever do get to a price cap, then that's when we really get in trouble. And we go, oh yeah, we'll do this. And then it's well, actually, they can't afford to produce this at all.
Yeah.
But I think that's where we'll get naturally because the people haven't got the money to actually spend, have they?
Yeah. And did you see the other link that I put in here, which was a link, breaking news. There's no inflation, actually, if you don't count the inflated items. And this is a serious, so this is the National Economic Council, Brian Deese. And
it's only if you count meat.
Yeah, if you don't count beef, pork and poultry, grocery prices apparently haven't gone up more than 3%. So it's the meat that's gone up in values. Let's just take out meat.
But it's because it's controlled by the top 4 producers. So it's price fixing.
It's just, I couldn't believe what I was watching.
It was American, wasn't it, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of this is American, but it all just translates into the same thing.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing.
Because we have had more extreme inflation in America, what was it, 22% last year? So you have had a 5th extra increase on any kind of thing like a meat, because I think it was back in, was it 70s when it went off the gold standard, and either the president or the vice president encouraged all farms to get big or get out. Yeah. And so things like vegetables and crops and corn can be scaled. So there is a massive profit margin there because it's cheap. But meat, you're fairly limited what you can do with a pig. You can't really make them more efficient, and you end up with massive amounts of disease if you don't actually sort them out properly. Yeah. But there's another line, in line with historical norms.
No, which is still that allows them to do the 2 to 5%, and then you can go, yeah. So what they're basically admitting there is grocery prices have increased, probably by 2 to 5%. That's on everything. But they've actually gone up more like 15 to 20 if you include the meat. And when you really look at like, well, why is meat? It's like, well, yeah, like you said, it's animals. You've got to feed them. It's hard to get the efficiencies there. And I'm sure there's like less subsidies and all that kind of stuff that can be plowed in. You just know that this is what they've always done with CPI. CPI is a complete lie anyway. So the 2 to 5% has always been a lie, because every time there's a product in there that inflates too much and pushes that number too high, they take it out and go, it's an anomaly. And it's literally what they're doing here. But normally they do it behind closed doors. This guy is actually announcing it publicly, going, yeah, we don't want to put groceries have gone up by 15, 20%. So instead, all we'll say is, now they've just gone up with historical norms, which means they've gone up probably by about 5%. But we're going to take out meat and again, I think this is a little bit of a double thing as well, where number one, they're lying about inflation. Number two, I think there is a bit of a war on meat. They seem to want to get us off meat for multiple reasons. And it seems to be the whole, they're going to blame climate change. They want to get us onto this like manufactured sludge and try and get everyone eating vegan and all that. I'm not completely sure what the motivation is, other than just they're making everyone into like soy boys or something. But they didn't want to get rid of all the alpha males eating their steaks. But
that's far too much Twitter, Bitcoin Twitter there.
But it's weird. There does seem to be a war on meat, and I'm not. This is the thing. I don't actually. This is something that's just started in my brain where I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why they really want us to get us off meat and into this like processed food instead. But it's interesting that they've kind of highlighted these three things, and then sometimes when you read some of the comments, it is, oh well, this is a good reason to not eat it. Then the price is going up, and you can almost see it's like, well, if you can't afford to eat, well, what are you eating? You eating meat, or eat a pizza? Or eat some veg that they haven't gone up as much, and you're kind of like, why are they doing this? This is weird.
Well, the thing is, like, a poor diet, so carb rich, encourage it, doesn't have the building blocks which you need. You need fat and you need protein. Literally, it's had a few studies done on it. Carbohydrates are next to useless. But it's basically energy, but you don't actually need much energy to actually function. So it's a big myth on how much carbohydrates you should eat. Looking at the pyramid. So I think it's just because it's cheap. Like they're inflating it beyond anyone's means. So why not just take out the equation and just the rich can eat it? I think that's a way of looking at it, of why exactly what they're up to.
It's yeah, it's bizarre. Do you go on to El Salvador?
Yeah. So are you going?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to plan a trip, in the next couple of weeks. Because there's a big event there. So where's that event? Yeah, so the El Salvador event in November. Yeah, it looks like they're going to focus. It looks really good. They're calling it the Lightning Summit, November 16th. So it's a couple of months away, like 2 months away yet. So we've got a bit of time. I'll probably leave the next couple of weeks before lockdown comes in the
UK. You're confident?
But yeah, I'm probably like 90%, I would say, right now.
By what date?
By what date? The restrictions will probably start coming in, I reckon, in about a month's time. And then probably by around this date, I reckon about 2 months, there will be chaos.
You reckon November?
Yeah, mid-November, yeah. They will be threatening lockdowns because they'll be trying to get the boosters. And they'll be going, we won't lock down if you get your booster. And then everyone will run in, get the booster, they'll lock you down anyway. That would be my prediction. Bitty wants his yearly dividend payment.
Bitty wants his dividend. Have you been posting on LinkedIn lately?
I haven't. I got banned for a week and then I kind of left it.
Yeah, because I've noticed any posts off you, because I think I became addicted to LinkedIn just looking for any comments from you.
Yeah, I think I've been shadow banned because I've been getting notifications and I click on stuff and there's nothing there. So I think like even if I post, it just goes into a black hole. I think LinkedIn have like shadow banned me. Yeah, so even if I post, it doesn't show up anywhere. So I'm just like, I've just gone sod you then. Like if I'm banned, just tell me I'm banned. I think if I post, you can't see it.
Yeah, so I was looking for some entertainment. I'm like, oh, there's no entertainment here. It's a bit of a shame. Yeah, it sounds interesting. I'm guessing it's going to be broadcast, and I think I read the article. I think they're about who they're sponsored by, and I think you're going to probably have all the usual faces. I'm guessing like Max and Chad Saylor.
Yeah, well, it'd be good if Chad Saylor's there. You got Alex Goldstein.
That's the charity guy, isn't it?
Yeah, the Human Rights Foundation. Yeah, and then you got Stephen Rivera, who's got a great podcast under that name. So they're listed. But I think that basically what looks good is there's basically two main tracks, and one is for El Salvadorans, and then one is for Bitcoiners just coming in. So because I think the main purpose of this is to educate people from El Salvador. So I'd imagine the bulk of the conference is going to be in Spanish, which obviously isn't going to be great for me, but it'll be fine because it's for them.
You could take your phone and put Google Translate on it, because I think it does do voice. I'm sure they probably have a translation service anyway there.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think they're going to focus the majority of the event in Spanish, and because it's for them, and then they know that people can obviously fly in and they're going to do some in English and talk about Taproot. And yeah, because Taproot will be, actually Taproot gets activated in November.
Well, has it been voted in? Because I think last time which we spoke about it, it was no one really understood it or knew about it, so they kind of ignored it. Whereas then it was starting to catch on.
Yeah, we probably missed it. Yeah, it got a lot of it's kind of just like, no one noticed it, then bang, exponentially went up. Everyone just agreed to it, so it all got locked in, and it's getting.
It's basically, what was Taproot again? It allowed you to ignore any marks when it had been through CoinJoin, and what were the other advantages to it?
Scalability as well, so the blocks are smaller.
Okay.
So there's less data in each block, which means you can get more transactions per block, and then privacy as well. Yeah, on.
So we're not going to boil the oceans as much.
Yeah, potentially. They're relatively minor. Like it's like with anything with Bitcoin, it's just like you're massaging around the edges now. Satoshi built it fucking perfect. Lightning is the huge improvement. This is on the main chain, so it's like 2% extra privacy, 2% extra scalability. But really, where you get 100x scalability is Lightning, and we've already got Lightning. So these are nice.
But I think Taproot sounds sensible. I think the whole thing about, I think now we're starting to see the kind of fight against Bitcoin with El Salvador, as in all the FUD which is coming out from IMF and various other outlets saying, that it's because the president's corrupt or he wants to do money laundering or whatever. And it's just like, well, actually, he wants to solve poverty problems which are caused by the inflation of the US dollar. The fact that they're starting to really fight this one, it join how you can anonymize your coins. So I think there is actually relevance to this now. And I think it'll probably be a bit bigger than you, well, a lot bigger than you were trying to state then. So I know that Lightning is basically what is enabling the Salvadorians, but this is what will help everyone else.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah. Because a great thing about Lightning as well, obviously, is scalability, but also privacy. No one can track you on Lightning. So it's also hugely private. But there's two stories as well. So with El Salvador at the moment, because there's not only is this event happening, which is great. Hopefully I'll be there and I can say what happened. But also there's another story.
And meet some Latinos.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Brush up on my Spanish. But
me llamo Mr. All In.
El podcast La Forbis.
Donde está la discotheque?
But yeah, as well as all the stories, and I do like the FUD stories that came out. I actually specifically like every time they mention the president, they tend to drop in the word dictator in there. He's not. He does have a huge majority, and it does seem like he does smash policies through, like this Bitcoin policy. But he just has a huge majority. He's technically a democratically elected official, but
I think there's no denying it. I mean, we'll wait a few years because I think for it to come into effect, because they're saying, oh, no one's going to adopt it, and it's causing a big cost for everyone. But as far as maybe I'm misunderstanding because I'm probably not fully in the know. But so I come to your shop, I want to buy some coffee or I want to pay my bill. I've got a Lightning wallet. You've got your Lightning wallet. You go, you owe me £3.20. Great. And I scan your QR code. So there's not much infrastructure on your side, is there? Because you'll probably be taking it through your phone.
Yep.
Okay. And then a bigger chain like a Starbucks would be, through an actual till. They'd have it linked into the internet. So I suppose, actually, going back to the corner shop or, small services one, I think a good way of looking at this is for many small businesses now, they use various things like Stripe and I'm trying to remember the name of some of the other companies, a Square, one of them, where you basically get a little device and it's basically a little card reader, which then connects to your phone, you fire it through the internet.
Yeah.
So in essence, this would just be going through your phone. So I know that I've read one of these arguments, it's causing cost, but the fact is that all these shopkeepers will have a phone and can download the software. So literally all it is registering for something like Blue Wallet or the equivalent in El Salvador.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because the thing is, and the old method of payment is still going to be there. So if you want to pay on Square and you've got a credit card, you want to pay in dollars, you can. All they've done is gone. You also have to, every shop that is selling something has to allow the ability to pay in Bitcoin as well. So you don't have to bake the two into the same product. Ideally, you would. That's ideal. But instead, what they've done is just created a government app that you can just fire up and then has QR codes on and accepts it backwards and forwards. The problem they've had actually is the app isn't particularly good. It seems to have had a lot of problems. So this just, like, for me, that's nothing to do with Bitcoin. That's like government execution on a Bitcoin project. So they've been a bit haphazard. I think the app store broke, or the app broke with just the traffic, and then they've been messing up some payments. But apparently, actually, I saw on Reddit, I was reading it earlier this morning, and they reckon there's a new update to the app coming and 95% of the problems will be fixed. So that's not bad.
But it's an MVP, isn't it?
Yeah, it's version 1, and they're a week in, and they've launched to 6.5 million people.
Yeah, it's going to take time, but it's so interesting. We've got people sniffing around this. Like, you've had Argentina, I think Panama are the ones which have been publicly announced that they're looking at debating this, and it's just going to be so interesting to see this, because we have bet big that this can be adopted by countries.
Yeah,
and this is a real test. I mean, we've got the kind of main case study, which I think we can help on, which is around, say, the equivalent of Western Union. Because I think for £100, is it something like an £18 charge to send money or something like that?
Yeah. We've got a story on exactly that, haven't we? Which is
sorry, I forgot about that.
So the top story is like, Western Union potentially going to lose $400 million in fees from El Salvador. Because obviously, this is a weird thing that I never really realized, because we almost forget about this feature of Bitcoin, is the fact that it's borderless. It doesn't matter whether I'm sending some Bitcoin to you, who probably lives a couple of miles away from me, or from me to El Salvador. And even though it's going through lots of different jurisdictions, going thousands of miles, Bitcoin doesn't care. It'll take 10 minutes for me to get it to you, or instantly if we use Lightning, instantly to you and instantly to El Salvador. It doesn't care. It doesn't matter how far it's going. And it doesn't matter how many borders and how many governments would have wanted to check that payment first. Bitcoin's like, fuck off, don't care, going straight to the device. And I kind of forgot about this use case because we focused so much on kind of scarcity, the security of it, and that how easy it is to send and how easy it is to look after it, be self-sovereign with your money. But I almost forgot about the borderless stuff. And especially places like El Salvador, a lot of people grow up there, and it's not very easy to earn good wages in El Salvador. So what a lot of people do is they leave, they go into America, into Europe, and around the rest of the world. They earn money there and they send it back. And then, the average fee is about £18 per fee of people working abroad and sending money back to their families. And with Bitcoin, suddenly now, if they all have the app when they're abroad, they can convert their money into Bitcoin and send it back home for free. So that potentially, as Western Union, $400 million.
Go into this so we can talk about figures, because I think it's worth breaking it down. So we reckon about £18 $18 per every 100 is spent on sending
per transaction, I think. So if you send like $1,000, it should only still be $18.
Now, if we were to look at Bitcoin, so we look at 1,000, I want to buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. How much is it going to cost me to buy that in terms of fees?
I think it's about 0.5%, 0.5 to 1%.
So we'd be looking around about $5. And then to send it on Lightning, it's like very, very small, isn't it? It's like
pennies.
It's like 0.0001 or something.
Yeah, pennies. In dollars, it doesn't even register. It's like less than a cent.
Because I've seen the argument online, I think it's just worth breaking that down, because people said, "Oh, you got to pay transaction fees." So
they're getting confused. They think you have to transact on the main chain, because then it would be almost comparable, because at peak times on the main chain, then that $25 fee, which is £18, there's $25 fees happen on Bitcoin all the time. The fees on Ethereum right now, I think, are over $100 per transaction. They completely forget that Lightning exists, and Lightning has only ever been a penny per transaction.
So I think if we look at this again, so we've got our $5 for buying with Bitcoin, because you got to count that, because we got to convert. It's a conversion, unless you're being paid in it, but you're in America, so
Yeah, you
it's
won't
not going to happen
Yeah.
unless we do move to a world standard. You don't have to worry about that, but you just got the lightning fee. Now, I don't know what it's like in the US and other countries, but in the UK, you've got chaps and backs. So if I remember correctly, backs is the standard payment. It takes days and it's pretty much free. Whereas chaps is the one which you pay a premium on. So that would be the equivalent of doing it on chain. So it costs you to send Bitcoin across the chain at what, $25, did you say, for 1,000?
What's it on? What did you say? On Western Union?
No, on Bitcoin on the chain.
Right now, it can go as high as $25 in peak, if it's really busy. But at the moment, it's a couple of dollars right now. It's really, the network's empty.
But say if we did peak, so $25 plus $5 for transactions, so we got $30, but that is instant. That's the equivalent of a chaps, whereas Lightning is still quick. It's just the levels of verification is the difference, and that's what I'm trying to make out. Whereas a chaps payment, so using in a bank transfer, it will cost you a lot of money because it's an immediate payment anyway. So you have got the comparison between the banking network.
Yeah, well, Western Union, in the article that I read on here, it can take 2 weeks for the money to arrive.
Yeah, I think we're talking days, whereas Lightning, well, we've done one, haven't we? And it was, I think it took 10 minutes or something.
The Lightning's instant. Like literally, if I sent you money now, it's on the main chain. It takes 10 minutes. The main chain is slower.
Sorry, I'm getting confused. Yeah, I was just trying to think, man.
Main chain is slower, but more secure. You have to wait for the block to be confirmed. Lightning is just like, bink. If you literally put up a QR code down on your screen and I scanned it, it would flash up immediately on your phone as paid.
Yeah, so I think it's just important to do the comparisons when we're basically saying about Western Union, because there is a lot of confusion, and even I can manage to confuse myself then. Yeah. So, Lightning and transaction, we're looking at round about, what do we say? So that's $5 versus 25, so a fifth of the price. And if you do go towards Bitcoin standard as a currency across the world, you're looking at a penny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, essentially, because that's the thing. You're right to actually, the thing I'd forgotten about actually is you do need to convert your pounds into, or your dollars into Bitcoin. That's the conversion. So that's where the fee is. But because essentially Western Union aren't converting anything. They're just sending dollars from one place to another, and they're charging $25 for that. Bitcoin will do that for 1 penny. But unfortunately, the existing system is set up that the exchanges, but actually with Stripe, not Stripe, it's Strike. So Jack Mallers' company, if you have a Strike credit card, he has 0 fees of conversion.
Ooh.
He said that like the whole exchange market of buying and selling Bitcoin, and provided you're not trying to trade it, you're just buying it and holding it, and like you doing it as a currency exchange, like a TransferWise, he's just gone, it's a race to the bottom anyway. The fees started at like 4 or 5% back in the day, and they've coming down and down and down as competition gets higher. So now it's like 0.5%. So he just went, let's just skip to the end. It's a race to the bottom, exchanging Bitcoin and dollars and backwards and forwards. Anyone can do it. It's just a nonsense, because what you can do is essentially hold Bitcoin and dollars and various currencies on your kind of balance sheet, just as TransferWise does. So you're not even doing a conversion. All you're doing is going, oh, customer A wants to have dollars instead of pounds, or pounds instead of Bitcoin, and you just change it around in a database. You don't do any conversion. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just a computer algorithm just changes some numbers in the database. So you just do it. And you just went, oh, let's just figure out the business model from the ground up on 0 fees. We need to make money elsewhere. We need to add value elsewhere, because these fees will go to 0 eventually. So let's just disrupt ourselves before the business even starts. 0 fees. So if you use Strike and you have a credit card with Strike and you're abroad, you earn money in dollars, and you want to send Bitcoin home, it's free. 0 compared to 25 there.
I'm guessing Strike is solely in the US at the moment.
Yeah, but he's about to roll out Europe, which I hope it includes UK, actually. If fucking Brexit screws me out of my Bitcoin Strike credit card, I'll be fucked off. Fucking Brexiteers keep fucking screwing.
I just went on Strike and it came up was Strike selling. Get that sell for free feeling. It looks like some company which sells houses. Yeah,
no, it's not. He's got a.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not him. He's not venturing into real estate in the UK.
No. It's Strike, but I've forgotten what the exact URL is. It's some Strike.me or something like that.
Yeah, very interesting that. Obviously, we'll just have to wait and see for it to come across.
We talk about well, the SEC threatening to sue Coinbase.
Well, this is a definition thing. So I was having a read about securities, because you always hear about security. What is a security? It's basically share, debt. That's what it kind of is. Whereas I'm quite confused, because basically what he's offering is some kind of loan system via Coinbase. So offering some kind of token. I can't remember what it was called.
Oh, it's staking.
Yeah, but all it is basically a loan, but it's a peer-to-peer, isn't
it? Kind of, yeah. It's this whole new concept where a lot of the shit coins are doing it right now, and it's like BlockFi and all these various places. It's like the new bank account, right? It's like bank accounts back in the day where you used to put money in, and then you get interest, but they'd be loaning out behind the scenes, and so there's a certain amount of risk, because if the bank goes under, then they lose your money, they didn't get their money back, and then you gambled for 8% returns, you lost your entire kind of money, but you just hope that wouldn't happen. And so BlockFi have been doing it for a while. There's a number of various like DeFi products that do it. And essentially what Coinbase want to do is they want to get in on that. And so what you'd have to do is you have various shit coins. Like, this isn't relevant for Bitcoin, but if you did have some shit coins, certain ones allow you to stake. And essentially you would go into Coinbase, you'd have to tie your coins up for a number of months or years and stake them. But then you would get a % extra coins back, normally between like 2 and 8% a year, more coins back. And behind the scenes, Coinbase they're loaning them out. So obviously loaning them out for more than the 2 to 8%, they need to be loaning them out for like 4 to 10%. And then they keep the difference and they give you what's left. And bizarrely, this seems to have upset the SEC, because they put it to them going, we want to do this. The SEC have gone, no, that's illegal. That's a security. You can't take a token in and give profit out. And if you do, we will prosecute you. So Brian Armstrong came out on Twitter and went, this is a disgrace. We don't agree with this. The whole point of the SEC is they're meant to be protecting investors. We don't believe we're hurting any investors here. We're giving them a product that gives them interest. And there's no evidence that it'll go end badly. So we're going to do it anyway. So fuck those guys. And
it was about the definition from what I've read, because I think I may have read it in a different article as well, that basically the SEC is saying it's a security, and they're like, it's not. So it's the definition, and maybe ask them why it isn't, why it's a security. I'm unable to answer that, because I think they've had this argument with other people around crypto trying to claim it's a security, but they're unable to establish why it's a security.
Yeah, well, it's bizarre. Bizarrely, like it clearly is a security, right? If you look at the definition of what security is, the main thing is it's an investment vehicle that you put money in, someone else does work, and then you get profit. That's a security. So it's investing in something with the expectations of returns, and this is clearly that you are buying a thing, you give it to someone else, they go do some work, and then they give you profit. It's a security. But the problem is, every single shitcoin in the world is that, because you buy that coin with the expectation that a team does work, makes the coin be worth more, and then you sell it for a profit. So every single shitcoin is a security. The problem the SEC have is there's 10,000 of the fuckers, and like they've only got so many staff, so they don't know which ones to go after. So what they end up doing is they go after the easy targets, which are the big exchanges that sit in the middle. And I think the main reason why Coinbase are annoyed is because they're the publicly limited company. They're the one that they can go after and threaten. Whereas this is happening all over the industry. There's staking happening all over the internet. There's various companies all around the world doing it. But Coinbase are listed on the American Stock Exchange, based in California. So the second they even propose that they're just going to do it, to essentially just try and be competitive to all their competitors that were already doing this, the SEC suddenly threatened with being sued. And they're like, this is bullshit. You're just coming after us because we're the ones that sit in America. What about all these other companies that are trading in America, or the companies that aren't listed on the stock exchange? So I do get that point, but at the same time, this is what you get, right?
So I'm pretty sure that they're having an argument with actually the classification as a security.
Well, that'll be their defense, yeah, because they want to pressure the SEC into saying all shitcoins are securities, and then the second they say that, it means, right, you have a decade of work to do because you've got to clean up we're like should be back of the list. It's like they're playing like 4D chess here, and it's just lawyers going into the into
kind of stuff which is a bit beyond me at the moment. I don't really understand the American market around that.
Yeah, because it's funny because what happened? I think around this time something big happened. Why? that was it. It was El Salvador. This is why a lot of people got on Brian Armstrong, who's the CEO of Coinbase, because he decided to, on this day, this came out, I think last Tuesday or last Wednesday, whenever El Salvador Day was. And we were all expecting like Brian Armstrong to say something about El Salvador and like to celebrate it. And instead he comes out of a massive thread, basically defending what he wants to do with shitcoins and how he's in a fight with the SEC. And it just went, you've just lost your way, mate. You're focusing on the wrong things. You've got into shitcoin land. Now you're getting tied up in regulations and threats from the American government because they're coming after you. And guess why? Because you're centralized. They don't want this. They don't want you to be outside the financial system. So they're going to make it as hard as possible, put as much red tape in front of you. This is why Bitcoin is decentralized. Shitcoins are always going to get shut down, matter of time, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I think they leave the shitcoins alone because they know they're fucking pile of shit. Anyone looks at the various ones and they're just like, what's the use case? What's the use case for Ethereum?
And JPEGs at the moment.
I was going to say, is it NFTs? NFTs of whales.
It's like a glorified, what was it, like Flickr? Flickr used to be the place.
What was the point of Flickr?
You put photos on there.
Why?
I don't think there was anywhere else to put them at the time. There was no social media. So if you wanted to display what photos you could take or draw, then you just host them on Flickr.
So it'd just be loads of pictures of men's balls.
Yeah, and dicks.
Sounds like a lovely website. Is it with an E?
No E. But
it's interesting because I think this almost drags us onto the shitcoin mode. Admittedly, I'd probably like to have it later. Yeah. But Logan Paul's latest shitcoin, like I found this hilarious when I read it. I was like, I can't believe he's back already. Like after the roaring success, which was Dink Doink or Doink Doink? I can never quite remember.
Dink Doink, I think, yeah.
Let's look at Dink Doink price while we're talking about this.
Because sure this all-time lows, is it?
Yeah, it just amuses me. So coinmarketcap.com. So we're looking at it and it was, big. It looks like it's flaring up over the last day. We could be wrong. It could be having a big surge.
No way. Is it the new Bitcoin?
And if I look at it,
I need to sell my cum rocket.
If we look at it over one day, it's got some big spikes everywhere, and you're thinking, "Oh bloody hell!" But it's like less. It's less than a single cent.
If we look at it, just click year to date.
Yeah. But if we look at 7 days, we're like it's kind of trending downwards. If we look at a month, it's trending downwards. So we look at 3 months, which is pretty much its life. It just goes woof and sticks to the floor. So I think it started at 0.00001 cent, and now it's down to something ridiculous.
That's 10 zeros. 0.1057.
So Dink Doink, which is possibly the most comical shitcoin which I've ever seen in my life. Logan Paul has come back. So the world famous boxer, what was he actually famous for?
YouTube.
Was it why? What did he do in YouTube which made him so famous?
Vlogging. He's the ultimate like popular lad in school. That's why he's like the popular lad in school. And then he just filmed himself being popular. So he's in the sports teams. He's got hot girlfriends. He's going out and having pies, vlogging it all. And yeah, he just became super famous because he was the hot guy in school that was all popular. He then got loads of followers. He then got rich off YouTube. So then his extravagance has just got bigger and bigger. He started driving Lambos, bought a massive mansion. He was just living the dream, really. So he just became famous for being a rich boy.
So literally, it was almost like self-fulfilling. Once he hit a certain period, it just kept on going on and on and on. And he got to the boxing, which I think was probably the pinnacle. Like the boxing, it's not actually that bad idea. The way Mayweather and whoever else he fought, it's actually, he's got nothing to lose. and he gets a big payday to fight these people.
Well, Logan Paul in boxing is 0-2. he's lost against the YouTuber and then Floyd Mayweather, but he's made, I think, about 50 million off those 2 fights combined. Plus, he's already worth about 200 million behind the scenes. You're like, can't knock it. The lad's about 25.
But, it's like, that is literally the pinnacle. He's done all this. I don't really understand how he's got famous, but he's managed to kind of like roll it up, which is obviously quite jealous of what he's managed. But then he gets to boxing, which, you look at him and think he fought on TV versus, or YouTube or whatever it was, versus Floyd Mayweather. That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And what's his next move? He makes Dink Doink, the most stupid fucking altcoin which I've ever heard of. And not content with basically, I think, pulling the rug out of everyone from all his followers, so wasting my money, he's come back for round 2. And he's creating NFTs. So from what I can understand is you go onto his website, you buy an egg, you don't know what's in the egg, and the egg hatches into something. And it isn't just an animal, it's a combination of 2 animals. So I think there was I called it a pug, but it never said what it was. So a pug mixed with a dog. No, sorry, pug mixed with a duck. There was a butterfly elephant. I don't know what it was called. A kitten lion, which I can't remember what he called. A litty, was it? Something like that? Sounds a bit like Bitty, doesn't it?
I might buy that one.
And then you're meant to trade them, but the guy who watched them, we've watched a video of his before.
Yeah, CoffeeZilla.
What was it? Was it about Dink Donk?
I think he did Dink Donk as well, yeah.
And he just shredded it apart because he's like, first of all, he's like, look at these. That looks really familiar. I've seen that image before. Is it a stock image? He's like, they're both stock images. And they're like, oh, that was because that was a prototype. So after they did the prototype, they went, actually, we've got a real one here. And he Googled it. And he was just like, the type of elephant he Googled, so he obviously knows a bit. And he's like, oh, here it is, about 5th row down. And this butterfly on a white background. And it was there. And could I do this myself?
He even puts a time on, doesn't he? He's like 5 minutes done, and he's like, it's perfect. You can see even like some of the last minute, he was just wasting time, just trying to get it absolutely spot on. But then he cuts to Logan Paul on his podcast, going, we've had 10 designers spending a year. We've spent $1 million redesigning all these NFTs from scratch. We have created these from the ground up, like the big sales pitch. And then there's CoffeeZilla going, what, you mean this picture and that picture? And give me 5 minutes, Bink, just create your, how much did that cost you? And then at the end, he's like, can I have a job, Logan? Because I can do this for $1 million. This is going to be the easiest day's work I've ever done in my life. Just taking photoshopping animals together.
And I think CoffeeZilla, he said that it's taken some like $1.6 million already. So it's already in profit from what Logan Paul has claimed as the original cost.
And there's no way he spent $1 million on those photoshops.
Yeah,
if he did, then he's stupid. If anything, CoffeeZilla might have exposed to Logan what this artist. It might be Logan might have been the first person to be scammed here, because maybe he went, I want 10 artists and I want a load of unique images, and they went, yeah. It will cost us $1 million, $200 per image, and then they've just thrown it together.
Do you think he lost a bit of money on Dink Doink?
Yeah, well, the fact that it never went up at any point, it literally just launched and then goes to zero, doesn't it? So he's had to pay a developer, and he's had to pay someone to do the animation, whether it was stock animation. It's still the time to put all that together. Yeah, there's videos and all that stuff. Yeah, I reckon if you round it all up, I reckon maybe $500,000 it probably cost him to launch it. And I'd have thought he could easily make a couple of million. But it looks like it just went straight to zero. So I doubt he even made his money back. And I don't believe that he spent $1 million on this one. But who knows? The thing is, with Logan now, he has such a big team around him. So maybe it did cost him $1 million, because when you do factor in, it's a little bit like the companies that we work for. When you think about it, just developer time, you go, oh, that was a $100,000 developer, and it took him 3 months. Therefore, it's 3 months worth of wages, which is $30,000 or something. But it isn't, because he's sat on a table. He's using servers. He has a product manager that looks after him. He's got a HR department. He's got there's
Finance,
there's a million people around, and I think Logan now does have a big team. So I reckon he probably is paying millions of dollars out per year in wages. So I reckon he just went, yeah, like a bulk of my team spent 6 months on this. So that's $1 million. And I reckon that's where he got to the number. He did not spend $1 million on the NFTs themselves. I mean, a majority of the money went just to people's salaries that were around it. And I wouldn't be surprised if they spent maybe $100,000 at a push, 200,000 on the images. Because
I do want a puck.
you can have it. Right click, save, and it's yours.
That's true. I might set it to my phone backgrounds. Wife's like, why have you no longer got the kids as your background on your phone? Because I wanted a puck.
Yeah, I'm gonna get Bitty, whichever one that is.
Well, the funny thing is, it was 2 shows ago when we talked about you doing some NFTs, and you refused. Yeah. But like we said, you could use small characters off an old business which you used to have, and you wonder if you can make money. Here's your answer.
Yeah, no, the thing is, though, I'm not Logan Paul either. So you have to get, the thing is with him is he can literally create any type of shit. And the thing is, he has tens of millions of followers that will just plow in, and he's got the perfect young, stupid crowd that follow him that are just yellowing in to any old scam. So whatever he throws them, they eat it up. And yeah, and already this one, look, he seems to have I think he's learned, like how I said on the last one, like how to do the scam, like he didn't even do it properly. On this one, I think he's doing it properly. So he hasn't just launched it and thrown it out into the world and to see how it does. He's been smart and he's launched it and he's doing a pre-sale. He's building up anticipation. So already now, like you said, CopyZilla, and that video is now probably a couple of days old. He already had raised 1.6 million worth of pre-buys, and it's not even launched yet. So he's already building the anticipation. I would imagine the second this all goes onto the market, it's probably going to plummet and probably go to zero. But yeah, it's just, this is where we are, right? We've just got celebrities launching JPEGs and making millions of dollars. This is the world.
I'm trying to find his site so I can look at how much they are, but I don't know where on earth it is. So I'm actually quite curious how much a single one is.
Yeah, on the thing, it was showing that I think they're about 0.3 ETH. It's a third of an ETH, and about an ETH's about $3,000 at the moment. So it's about $1,000 for an egg.
But
it's the crazy thing, right? And that's cheap. $1,000 for a JPEG is cheap. That's the world we live in.
But you could get a puck.
Yeah. That's that thing is at the moment. You don't even know. I think at the moment you don't even know, do you? It's just going to be random. You just buy an egg and you have no clue what's going to hatch out into.
But
and then
you are saying that there's a chance that I could have a puck.
There is a chance. I can guarantee you a 100% chance is if you just wait for it to launch, wait until someone's got one, and then right click, save, and you don't have to spend 0.3 ETH or $1,000.
Let's type it into Google. Let's see if I can get the bad boy. Oh, there's not too many, it says. I think that's it. I think I may actually have it already. And it's on some WordPress, so someone's made it. Oh, great. I can put that as my phone background.
There you go. Yeah. So that's our shitcoin corner. What have we got in here? How about Wrecked of the Week? This happened yesterday. So this was another just bollocks story that came out of nowhere. Don't know if you saw it.
It was insane. I saw it on Twitter. I didn't see it on this criteria, on the agenda, because I didn't have a chance to look at it again. But yeah, I saw it on Twitter, and it's...
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed that I noticed the price just went up $3,000 yesterday. It lasted about 5 minutes and then just plummeted $4,000. I'm like, oh, what the hell happened there? And weirdly, when I was looking at it, I've got a number of coins, even though I don't have any of them. They're just listed there. And I noticed the Litecoin one had just gone up first. I just went, what the hell? What's happened with Litecoin? So I just logged into Bitcoin Twitter. And yeah, there was a very obvious fake story, and where just some plebs were just spreading fake news that just doing it for a laugh, really. That, Walmart is now accepting Litecoin, which sent the price of Litecoin flying through the roof. I think the price doubled in space of about 2 minutes. And yeah, it's total bollocks. Like Litecoin, whoever owns that account came out quite quick and went, there's no truth in this rumor. What the hell? So the price went racketing back down.
This is what you kind of get in normal shares. So they're saying that this is the first circumstance where a false rumor has been spread to artificially inflate the price.
I went, well, it happened on Bitcoin not so long ago. It happened when they rumored that Amazon was going to accept Bitcoin. The price went flying up. And then people tried to substantiate it with, oh, look, Amazon have some blockchain hirers here. And that wasn't until the next day Amazon went, we're not accepting Bitcoin. What the fuck? And then the price went back down again.
Yeah, very true. So you think, like, we all put a gamble of what is about 50 quid into some mining company based upon a series of rumors.
Yeah.
And I think we all lost some money. And
I did more than 50 quid on that one.
Yeah, may have done 100, maybe 150. I didn't do lots.
I did a couple of grand.
Oh, you proper YOLO'd in.
Yeah, I was 50% or 60, 70% down when it came out. I wasn't a YOLO at the time. I was still it was a bit of a YOLO, I guess, but yeah.
See, it's exactly the same. Like, you get these rumors, oh, we found a seam or something. Oh, this person's investing. And it's the same kind of thing. Like, someone sent me saying someone in his team has done this research. He's come across this on a forum, and it's mining. And I was like going, this company's interested in buying them. This company's bought shares in them. They have got new technology, which everyone's interested in. Went, which one of these can actually be proven? You know, it's the same kind of thing, and it's with Litecoin, I suppose, Bitcoin. I forgot about the Amazon thing, but it basically is these rumors which are hard to disprove until the other company comes out and goes, what the fuck are you on about?
Well, the problem is, like, because all these coins and, like, and to a certain extent shares, they're constantly trading, aren't they? So, you know, getting you, and the problem is the real culprits are, it starts with just, usually it's some idiot on Twitter. Normally it's Bitcoin Twitter. People, I'm in some group chats. Like, I kind of know the guy that did the Amazon one, and he just rebranded his Twitter account, made it look like a formal one, and then just announced it. And there's so many media companies out there desperate for clicks. So when they see something, they don't verify it. They just post it. And then it becomes real, because then once one publisher picks the story up, all the other publishers pick their story up and reference it back to the original one. And the original one is foundation is one tweet from a guy that used to have a picture of a dog, and he rebranded himself to look like the IMF or something, and just posted out that Amazon are going to release it. So it all comes from a really dodgy source. It's like a foundation of sand, and then everyone builds like big buildings on top. And it takes 24 hours for the actual company that's in question to go, no, this is nonsense. And
there's something recently about Ohio hospitals as well being flooded with COVID victims or something. No, people who were stabbed couldn't get treated because they're so full of COVID.
It was shot. It was gunshot.
And they traced it back and went, this is off a single account which no one has verified. And it's just come up with some doctor who doesn't even work at the hospital anymore.
Yeah, and the picture that they've used to show the queue of I don't know where all these gunshot victims are from. Like, why is everyone getting shot like on this day? There's a massive
in Ohio.
Yeah, there's a massive queue out the door of this hospital. You're like, oh right, that is a queue outside the hospital. But then someone spotted it's snowing in the picture. It's like it's currently really hot there, and they're like, this clearly is not a recent photo. And you're like, oh, it's just brilliant. And the thing is, what I was going to try and get to then is just like there's no kind of consequences for the media outlets, because all they're designed to do is create clicks. The more clicks they get, is the higher they can sell their adverts for.
Yeah, so media's turned a bit rotten.
Yeah, so when they pick up this fake news, all that happens is they get a shit ton of clicks, and then the next day they'll rewrite the article and go, "Oh yeah, sorry, that was wrong," but they got paid. So what's their like punishment for that? Well, nothing. They got paid. So tomorrow, when they see another fake tweet, should we wait 24 hours? And it looks like Walmart are accepting Litecoin. Before we publish the article, should someone phone up our head of PR at Walmart and confirm they are accepting Litecoin? Nah, don't wait. Someone else will publish it and they'll get the clicks. Put it out. They'll make their money, and then probably in the background they phone them up and go, "Are you accepting Litecoin?" Like, nah. I'm like, "Oh, just leave the article up." for a just for a few hours, because the thing is, they go viral on Twitter, the price goes up, loads of people are clicking it, people like me link it on here, and then so you're getting clicks, even though it's clicks for fake news. So I'm not sure how we fix this, because
it's a very good point about media, isn't it? The state of media at the moment.
Yeah, because if you're honest and you wait and you try and verify your information, then if it ends up being correct, you're late, you're last. No one clicks your article because 10 people got there before you.
I think there's the different types of news, isn't it? So you've got the instant kind of like ones like that where they're just trying to get out, and ones which are maybe a bit more investigative. That's what I suppose you'd be more interested in, someone who's actually done their research and potentially being willing to pay, some kind of fee for that.
Yeah, because that's why it's interesting on the Amazon one, because the Amazon one went across everything. I think it was on the New York Times. It was on AP. It was all over the place. And again, they were all referencing, because the one that really got scammed by it was City AM. It was a little local London tech paper. They were the one that they verified it with the guy whose Twitter account was, and he went, I went on a phone call with him and said I was an Amazon director. He literally went on a podcast saying he was in his pants smoking weed, talking to some journalist at City AM, going, yeah, we've got some blockchain analysts and we're accepting Bitcoin. And this guy just went, okay, great, bye. Wrote the article. And then because it was sourced, and he was like, oh, but I need your name. It's like, I can't give you my name, but it's happening. You got it. And he went off and wrote the article. And then every other legitimate source, obviously we're probably talking to City AM. And I reckon the way they verified it was, we need to talk to City AM. So they looked at the guy who wrote the article, phoned him up and went, have you spoken to someone at Amazon? He went, yeah. I spoke to an executive at Amazon. And it wasn't. It was some random guy. It was some guy on Twitter that said he was an executive on Twitter. And he was pissing himself during the whole thing. And then he rebranded the Twitter account back to what it was. Like, he's like pleb something, pleb hodl. And then the City AM guy went, oh.
But yeah, like you said, there's no consequences to that.
Yeah, because they get paid. So, yeah, they actually get rewarded.
So whilst he's embarrassed, he's just like, you know what? Made money.
Yeah. And then talking about making money, GigaChad Sailor back in the market, banging that buy button on Bitcoin, smashing the buy button.
I have times when I'm like going, oh God, should I put any more money into Bitcoin? Should I sell some? And along comes Chad, and he's just like, oh,
5,050 Bitcoin off the market, $250 million worth of cash at an average price of $48,000. Bang, GigaChad. What a DCA. What a boy.
What is his personal stake? Because we've seen his company. It's now, was it 3 point something billion? 3.16 billion.
Yeah, that's just their Bitcoin as well. An average price of 27,000 now.
So what is his own store? Like, we've heard about, like,
you won't talk about it, which is fair enough. It's private.
Yeah, fair enough. I just thought maybe he would have.
No, but we've got 114,000 Bitcoin now.
Yeah, so he bought like what's it, $1 billion or $2 billion's worth? No, it's about $1 billion's worth initially, wasn't it? And that was under the radar. And then he's done a couple of DCAs at 200 million a pop. And it's just like you're thinking, oh no, he won't buy any more. Yeah, he has. Just like thresh out. I just
and his buys up until now. Yeah, I think he did a couple of those billion ones, and his first billion one was at the 11,000 mark because he likes the number 11. He thinks it's a lucky number. He did it at 11, 11, 11. Like, it was all the ones when he bought in, and that was his first billion. Yeah, I think he bought another billion a bit later, and then he's been doing. Typically, I think it's been 25 million type buys, so they've gone down significantly. But then, boom, just shoves the 250 million one in because we're on a bit of a dip at the moment. So he's like, let's get in.
What dictates the amount of money which he puts in now? Because he's obviously wanted to get a big tranche in, but then he's gone down to amount. Is it something to do with profits from MicroStrategy? I mean,
yeah, I think it is because the share price of MicroStrategy has gone through the roof as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's basically what he's doing is he's selling shares of MicroStrategy and converting into Bitcoin.
He's literally going to be the world emperor, isn't he?
I know this is the only thing that the only downside to this is one company should not have 114,000 Bitcoin. I want more plebs to have it whilst we're at this cheap price. And the GigaChad, the good thing is I think his heart's in the right place. So I just hope at some point, I hope he does sell some Bitcoin. And I hope when he sells it to buy a country and becomes the GigaChad of that country and goes, Bitcoiners are welcome. Come here and do what the fuck you want. And then I'm going to go to his country, buy a little bit of land off him and live there. I hope he does that because...
But what happens if he actually buys a country, builds a Terminator factory?
I know.
And then he sends someone back in time to try and kill you as a baby.
I know. See, that could happen. He need to do it.
And exactly, and when you sort everyone's time preference out with the sound money, people will start making Terminators just for lols.
I know. It could be his great-great-grandkid. I honestly do think I would actually put a bet out there now if anyone would ever take it that Saylor is going to be the first ever trillionaire. We've got the first couple of $1 trillion companies in Apple and Amazon.
But here's what we talked about previously, but obviously we're going towards trillions, but at what point do we cut out, so his wealth, God knows what he's actually valued now, but will he actually make it to be a trillionaire, or will we cut out the fiat standard?
Oh, right, yeah. There's a chance that we hit hyperinflation before he gets there. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I suppose what I mean is a trillionaire in existing spending power. So he essentially, Michael Saylor at the moment does not have the spending power of Apple. Like Apple could buy probably most of Africa and just not care. Michael Saylor at the moment can't buy Africa, but because he's not a trillionaire. But if we fast forward a decade, I think Michael Saylor, if he wanted, could buy Africa, which is.
I prefer him to buy the US.
Yeah, that would be beautiful. Buy it in the fire sale and then rebuild it from the ground up.
Yeah, it'd be hilarious, and just burn the printing press. I think that's what you'd have to do.
Yeah,
just melt it.
We put it on all on statues. They're like the warning signs, aren't they? It's like we need to remember these things. These are the things that destroyed our society last time. Like we cannot make the same mistake again.
But then in 50 years' time, we'll just topple them into a river.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, yeah, the society will just keep going. Yeah, we'll die 3 generations on. They'll be like, this Bitcoin standard thing, that's for boomers. Let's start printing paper and like, oh, here we go. Here we go. These Bitcoiners are all racist. Look, Satoshi didn't like transgenders.
And they talk about glory holes.
Oh, fun. Yeah. History doesn't rhyme, but it does repeat.
So there's one which you did, which is a video. I think there's a 1-minute clip circulating on Twitter. It's about Bitcoin being a Ponzi.
Oh, that's genius. Yeah, that fun of the week. Yeah.
So I think I saw a 1-minute video originally. When you put it on this, I was like, what the hell is this? I started listening to it. It's like the first he says, this week on the paranormal facts, we're going to be looking at the ghost which haunted this house at the end of this normal suburban street. And it's actually, it sounds like that 90s voiceover. It's some kind of like, I don't know, mystery or serial killer or something. Just some like, you must have heard those programs. His voice just sounds exactly like it.
We've seen how cross-eyed he is as well.
Well, one of my comments was someone needs to take a picture and draw some laser eyes on.
Like
just burning that whole room.
Like one's looking at you, the other's just going fucking that way.
Right, we've been cancelled now. That's a comment.
It's one of the greatest little 7-minute. I actually recommend sending this to any newbie. Like, know what Bitcoin is. Send this Bitcoin is a Ponzi video to them, because it's just so brilliant. Like, even when you watch it, it's so dumb, like trying to drag Bitcoin down and say it's a Ponzi and try and explain it, but it's just.
I think this is it. He starts talking about, one of his key points was inherent value. It has no inherent value. So let's strip that down. What does inherent value mean?
I know. What
It's
happens?
basically inherent value. So actually, let me do even simpler things. So inherent definition,
Yeah,
because literally,
what value
it
does a football have, or a computer? It's like, oh, well, it has a
yeah.
use. I can do something with it. What, you mean like Bitcoin, as in buy stuff?
But how do you get a value of anything?
Yeah, you
So
can't.
so gold. What's the inherent value of gold?
I know. It doesn't
What
have.
what
Nothing has one.
what is the inherent value of a dollar? And I just went, this is just a bit stupid.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, when he talks about it being unpredictable, I think this is because, well, I think we talked about it on the previous week where it basically is. It's the discovery stage. We're still in discovery. We don't know where it's going to settle. If it is a store of value, so if you're looking at gold, you're looking at a smoother ride with a basic increase with inflation as they keep on printing more fiat. If we're looking at currency, it's dependent on how many countries adopt it. So that is how you come up with something which comes as a stable value. And if you have got, say, Bitcoin as a currency, and you've got a dollar, you've got pounds, you've got, say, whatever else, a euro, its value may fluctuate depending on what the other currencies do. But the whole point is if you go to a complete Bitcoin standard, then you've got 21 million coins. And so a football will cost you, say, 10,000 sats or something like that, probably a lot less in 2022. And in 2032, it'll cost you exactly the same. And that is the concept, because unless there's a technological change which makes footballs easier to produce. But if it's the same process, it takes 1 hour, the same amount of material, which has still got the same supply, it'll be the same price. It just seemed a lot of rambling. And it was made by, who on earth was it made by? Because it was some kind of institute who,
Gravel.
who basically marked themselves as something to do with finance.
Yeah, we found the CEO of Gravel. She's got a lot of shit this week. She's got her pronouns listed, of course she has. And saying Bitcoin is a Ponzi, and it's great when people try and define what a Ponzi is. It's obviously the official definition is that the only way to pay a Ponzi is that the people that buy in, you have to keep taking the money from the first people and paying the new people, and or taking the money from the new people and giving it to the old, so people keep going, and eventually the money runs out and then the Ponzi collapses. So yeah, fine. But they the way they describe it, they kind of go through that and then go, oh yeah, the only reason people are buying Bitcoin is to sell it at a higher price. So that's exactly what Ponzi is, and you just need to you need new people in the bottom to keep making sure the existing people get paid. But you just go, well, your definition, you broaden that one out so far now that, people only buy it to sell it at a higher price. Well, maybe a lot of people do that for that reason, but a lot of people are going to hold it until we hit
well, he did contradict himself, because he did say billion transactions had taken place.
Yeah, I know.
So it did make me think about selling it. I need to send a DM to Chad Saylor on Twitter to tell him that it's a scam as well, and he should sell all his holdings.
He's made a huge mistake, yeah.
Yeah, and I need to tell Elon as well, but he needs to sell his holdings for Tesla as well, because this guy who's burning different areas of the room with his laser eyes says it's a Ponzi, and it's unpredictable. It's got no inherent value.
Yeah, people only buy it because it might go up in value, which, guess what? That's every investment since known to man, right? Like, why does anyone buy a stock or a share? Because they hope it's going to go up in value, they can sell it. It does not make it a Ponzi. It's only a Ponzi if it's not doing anything, and behind the scenes, one person is moving the money from the bottom up to the top to pay people off. No one is doing that in Bitcoin. No one, whether you're early, late, or coming in tomorrow or in 10 years' time, it doesn't matter. Like, you're just buying Bitcoin off people that already have it. Like, there's no shoveling the money all the way up to the top, and the people at the top are all exiting. If anything, when you look at some of the long-term holders of the coins in a Ponzi, the people at the top are out. They needed to get paid by the people that came in 2 or 3 layers. They need to get all their money and run far. So why are people that are early into this Ponzi still holding coins from 10 years ago? Why are they holding it? This Ponzi could have collapsed at any point, and they've held it from pennies all the way up to $64,000. Come on, mate. We're 12 years in this video. I would almost forgive this video if it was created about 7 years ago. the fact it's created now is just so funny.
I think I'd get him to read the first couple of chapters of Saifedean Amris's book, The Bitcoin Standard, just to explain the history of money and how the whole concept of Bitcoin came about. So the fact of the printing press versus backed by gold, the rice stones, the was it sea beads or something? The coin clipping. We've got so many different examples, and this is the whole point of what it's actually meant to stop. And I think there's a whilst he's meant to work for some investing company or some kind of research company to economics, he doesn't seem to understand the basics.
He's clearly a complete noob, and I hope that he got paid to make that by some banker, because if that he actually did his research and then that's what he came up with, and just wow. And,
but maybe it's because inflation is good. Helping me.
If you're listening to those guys, then I don't even blame you for coming out with this conclusion, because
helping make people poorer since 1971.
We also had Mr. Schiff came out this week as well, and he's hilarious because I watched his little dumbass podcast on what Bitcoin did, and where he was debating someone about the gold standard against Bitcoin, and he was getting really annoyed, because one of the points was that gold's underperformed the last 10 years. It's not a store of value. It's gone down by 1% over the last 10 years. So it's not kept up with inflation. It's behind it. You've lost spending power. Gold is not doing what it's supposed to do, which is be a store of value.
So it has increased slightly, but it hasn't tracked with inflation. That's correct, isn't it?
Well, last time we checked it, it was down 1% over the last 10 years.
So what, in total?
Yeah, in total. This year it's down 10%. And if you go from now to 10 years ago, it's down 1%.
So to track from inflation, what would it need to be?
Well, every 15 years, it needs to have doubled. So really, gold should be about 75% up by now.
Yeah, I think this is the big one. Because I remember when I kind of started this, I was thinking, maybe I should buy some gold.
Yeah, everyone that's buying gold is already in Bitcoin. It's very clear that all the people that are buying gold have switched into Bitcoin. And bizarrely, like I didn't mind Schiff's argument, right? Which is that price is a short-term thing. Gold has performed over thousands of years. Yes, it hasn't performed over the last 10. That isn't necessarily mean that it's trending that way. Once everyone realizes gold will go back up. Just because Bitcoin is going up faster, because Bitcoin obviously gone up by 200% per year, every year for 12 years. Gold has gone down 1% over those 10 years. It's like, so as an investment, it's just not even close over the last decade. But he's going, you're cherry picking. You can go back to a different period in gold and you'd have got similar returns if you were early in gold. It's like, yeah, of course. None of us is actually disputing that. If anything, we're like, yeah, there was a gold rush and now it's the Bitcoin rush. But he's going, no, but ignore price, because if you're going to go on price, then technically Ethereum is a better investment over the last 2 years than Bitcoin. So if you're just going to go on price, then Ethereum's better than Bitcoin. You're like, okay, this is why you shouldn't really talk about price. It isn't just about that. It's about the fundamentals, about the security, the scarcity, decentralization, and all that. But then, hilariously, this week, Mr. Don't check the price, price doesn't mean anything, fucking Peter Schiff, comes out saying Bitcoin's had a horrible week technically. It's outside reversal week, took out the prior week's high, then closed the prior week's low. The pattern may repeat on a monthly chart too. Bitcoin already took out the August high. Now it needs to close below the August low. But basically a load of technical garbage about trading and the fact that Bitcoin's below a certain price. And I thought price wasn't important, Peter. Why are you so focused on the real small, nuanced fundamentals of Bitcoin's price, thinking now it's going to get Mr. Hypocrite? Shut the fuck up, shit.
It seemed a little bit bizarre. I think something which we covered on a previous week as well was around gold. You don't actually know how much gold is in the world.
Nope.
And then the other fact is, when we looked into some gold mining companies, they actually have reserves.
Yeah.
So these reserves are expanding year on year. So gold, it's always claimed that there's 2% more gold every year, because that's how much they mine. So it's a selective amount of people or companies who can mine. they're actually mining more than that because they're finding more seams. So what they do is they then store it. So you've got big vaults of gold, which are not putting onto the market because they know that it would flatten the price. And considering we've lost, what do you say, was it -1 in the last 10 years? If they actually put all that gold on the market, what would happen to the price?
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't actually know what the figures are for the actual stored gold as well. But then again, we don't actually know how much gold in the world.
No. And the problem is that Mr. Peter Schiff has is the world. We're not just talking about the world anymore. We're starting to explore space, and we know there are whole asteroids the size of the Earth flying around, solid gold. So at the moment, like I was amazed by the stat that basically the entirety of the gold on the entire Earth, it would fill 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools. That's all the gold. And when someone said that, like, wow,
in the UK?
No, in the world.
Oh, sorry, in the world. That can't be right.
Two Olympic, yeah. We'll Google it. 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools.
Just think about how much gold Mr. T wore.
I'm not sure that was gold, mate. That's gold plated. But so basically, it's a tiny amount. When you really like put it down, it's probably like about the size of one house. That's the entire of gold in the world. It's crazy. Actually, no, it's more than that. Olympic-sized swimming pool is quite big, but it's a small amount. So if you imagine an asteroid flying around,
I was going to say it depends on whose house you're talking about.
Yeah, not.
So if you're talking about Chad Sailors, it's probably not quite as big.
No, just his swimming pool. Yeah,
or a shed.
The swimming pool inside his pool. Yeah, but yeah. So basically, the supply of gold, when you really think about it, universe-wise, is infinite because there's so much gold out there. It's just we can't get access to it right now. Whereas when you think about Bitcoin, yeah, how much Bitcoin's in the world? 21 million. There's no Bitcoin sat on another alien planet. Whereas with Mr. Schiff Gold, there's asteroids flying around the size of Earth that are solid gold, which would inflate the supply of gold by like 1,000 times. So
it's also like these secret reserves.
Yeah,
exactly. Like I said.
And he owns them as well. He owns the mining companies. And sometimes he gets asked that question, like, what is the world supply? I almost see in his eyes, he starts like darting about. Like, he fucking knows how much they have on reserve. He knows.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to actually know those stats, but they'll never reveal them.
No, it destroys their business.
Yeah. Okay. After that one, what other points have we got? I didn't watch that video about which Darnell dropped in, so it might be one for next week about Ryan Leslie.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Nigerian states ban access to banks and churches. So this isn't the whole of Nigeria, but certain states, as a way of coercing people into taking a vaccination, have said that people who do not will not be allowed into church, will not be allowed to bank with certain banks. So it seems a little bit, they seem to have picked two of the main things, you know, from an outsider's point of view: religious country, money's needed. I know they have flirted with Bitcoin, which I suppose is a positive to come out of this. I know that people aren't going to put up with that shit because I think everyone's a little bit, what's the correct word for it? Not concerned, but almost they're looking at vaccine and go, why are you trying to push this hard?
Yeah, skeptical, yeah.
Yeah, because you've got, so if we look at Nigeria's stats, there's 201 million population within the whole of Nigeria. How many deaths in 18 months?
10,000.
Just due to COVID.
Yeah, 10,000, yeah.
2,598. And they're trying to force people by banning from banks and churches, which I kind of
small.
Yeah, because
that's like 0.01%.
You can believe in vaccination, medicine, and so on, but I just kind of looked at it and went, what on earth? That is very sinister.
Yeah, you put this article in, and I decided to quick look at is Nigeria a religious country? It really is. Only 1% of that country is atheist. 55% are Muslim, 45% are Christian. So they are one of the most religious countries in the world, and I was quite surprised. And then suddenly, it made sense why they're doing this, because now they know if you want to practice your religion, which 99% of that country want to do, they're going, well, the price of entry is now the vax. God wants you to have the vax.
I just thought it was horrendous because I'm
Disgusting.
very pro-choice for whatever you want to do. Like, you can have a vaccine, you can not have a vaccine, take your choice. But to do that, I just went, doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
No.
There's no logical good reason for that.
It's all about coercion, right? So there was a good article, or not article, there's a little video captured that I saw on Twitter a couple of days ago. And it was of the Israeli Prime Minister of Israel, or the head of the COVID Karen police. And it was before a big meeting, and it was a public meeting, but he didn't realize that there was the press were already in the back, and they were zoomed in on him, and he was talking to one of his mates next to him. And he went, and this guy, I think, was asking a question. He went, yeah, I know there's no scientific evidence that proves we need to shut down these places and mandate vaccines. We're doing it to coerce people into making sure they do get the vaccine. And he got caught on camera just saying that outright. And this is just perfect explanation for it, right? This is just evidence right there. Because at least in the UK, they're pretending that it's about the spread. And they're going, oh no, big events like planes and stuff like that, you need the vaccine to go into those places, which you could kind of go, all right, maybe I could kind of buy that. Maybe if you are going to have a spread of a virus, having thousands of people in one small place would do it. But when you're doing it in banks and churches, you know they are doing it because they want to get you where it hurts, and they want to cut you off from your day-to-day life. You can't earn money and you can't practice your religion, you can't live, you're out. So you're just going to have to go, fuck it, no matter what my views are, no matter how high the risks I think they are, I just have to get vaccinated, because otherwise I can't live my life. And it's nothing to do with, oh, I won't go to big gatherings, I won't go to somewhere where there's 1,000 people, I won't go on holiday, fine, I'll opt out of those things. So I value my health over those conveniences. But when they shut banks and churches, you know they're doing it to hurt you. There's no other.
Yeah, I think the whole point of this is pull it back to Bitcoin. Yeah, you can't stop someone using Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it comes down, because it is a bit of a funny one. I don't know what Nigeria is exactly up to.
No, they're getting bribed off by the IMF and the WHO. It's the same guys, right? Same guys. They're going to get, they'll be on big bonus schemes. How many vaccines you give out, this is how much money you get. So the government are going, great, we want this free money. They're corrupt as fuck in Nigeria, right from top to bottom. So the government will be going, oh, great, the IMF are going to give us 500 million if we can get 80% vaccinated. Right, well, let's go. How do we do it? And they've probably tried loads of different things. No one's doing it because no one's getting ill. No one gives a shit. They're like, fuck it. Let's put security guards on our banks and churches. If you're not vaccinated, you're not coming in. That'll get 80% and we'll get our money. I guarantee that's what it will be. It will be money motivated by corrupt politicians.
I need to get my tin hat out.
You wait. Let's subtract the money from the IMF. But we had a good big moment. Our Bitcoin lesson of the week, that we hit block 700,000 on Bitcoin this week.
I was reading this and I was trying to better understand it. So, someone who's fairly new to the kind of arena, it's 700,000. Is it every 100,000 which is celebrated?
But it's just a round number. We're not like, it's just a nice round number.
Yeah, but is it, because it seemed a fairly, so when it was 600,000, was that a big thing?
Yeah, it's just a thing. But in reality, the real big number is 210,000, weirdly. Like Satoshi really liked 21, like 21 of everything. It seemed to go into everything. It's 21 million Bitcoin. And then every 21 or 210,000 blocks, that's the halving.
Wasn't it a Jim Carrey film, 21, where it's the answer to everything? I remember seeing an advert, but I've never actually watched it.
Might be 23, but yeah, it's 20 something.
Yeah, I was going to say it's 21. Maybe that's where Satoshi got his idea from.
Yeah. Weirdly, I was talking to reading a developer thread the other day, and weirdly 21 does really fit into binary really well, so it does fit quite neatly. So it looks like it did actually have some quite good reasoning for it. But yeah, it's just a thing. It's just a nice little thing. 700,000 blocks. That's every 10 minutes for 700,000 times. Bitcoin has just produced a block with transactions in it flawlessly every single time. Congratulations, Bitcoin.
It's actually quite upsetting as it is, It is 23, not 21. The movie, so it would have been quite funny if it's actually based around that.
Yeah, it wasn't based on it. But yeah, and then the blockchain now is like 413 gigabytes, which is getting big, but it's still not too bad. That's run a financial ecosystem for 12 years, and it's 400 gigabyte. It's not bad.
Reading the tweet which you sent round, it was saying that at 600,000 it was $8,000, and at 700,000 it was $45,500. So obviously big difference in that kind of seventh. One kind of question which I have for you, probably because my history of Bitcoin is quite poor, is around Hal Finney, because he had a notable quote on there. I mean, where does he fit into the story? He seems like one of your early adopters from what I read.
Yeah, he's the very first Bitcoin transaction that was ever done with Satoshi to Hal Finney.
And Hal Finney died, was it 2014?
Yeah, he had ALS, yeah. So you remember the Ice Bucket Challenge thing?
Yeah.
He died quite suddenly of that illness. So he was very early, one of the first developers that was helping Satoshi build Bitcoin. Very first ever Bitcoin transaction ever on the network was Satoshi to Hal Finney. He's a legend. One of his only tweets he ever put on Twitter was just running Bitcoin, 2 words. And then, he tragically died, quite soon after that. But I think contributed a huge amount to Bitcoin, yeah.
So he knew Craig Wright.
It's the great Hal Finney is a great man, and it's people like him because he's quoted in that. He's literally quoted in that tweet that I did. So that is Hal Finney's words. He's a complete legend, and it's why people get so angry when people like Craig Wright try and take credit for this. And because people like Hal Finney it was a great man, and he should be given more credit than he deserves, and not enough people know he is because he died so soon after Bitcoin got launched.
Who are the kind of original developers? So obviously we all heard about Satoshi. We got Hal Finney there. I mean, I think you've mentioned one piece of Todd, but I don't know how he fits in.
Yeah, he was right there at the beginning. He was 16 when he first started helping. We got Greg Maxwell, we got Luke Dash Jr., Jimmy Song, whole group of them. There's probably about 50 guys, and they all came in over the course. Adam Back, of course.
Were they just working from kind of like their bedrooms or offices or whatever, and kind of chipping in, or were they actually a group?
They were the cypherpunks, so they were all on a back in the day a email newsletter group where you could essentially, it was just like a reply all backwards and forwards, but it's for cypherpunks, and you could sign up, and they were just sending backwards and forwards the new story. It's like before the internet really became the internet, so it's like they had their own little subreddit essentially, where if you liked this stuff, and it was all about hacking, encryption, privacy, and they were just chatting about random stuff. And Satoshi one day dropped the white paper into this email newsletter and went, have a look at this, guys. And they just went, what the fuck is this? This is money. You've reinvented money. And he went, yeah, I think I have, yeah. And they was like, shit. And they all started running it. And they were like, this is amazing. And they're all, they're computer guys. Yeah, they were all developers, all had day jobs, developing for various companies. And then Satoshi drops a white paper into their little newsletter of like 100 people. And went, what do you think? Has this got legs? And he went, oh my God, this has legs. Yes. And then one guy decided to set up a website for it. Another guy sets up a forum. Let's get more people in. And it all just balloons from the cypherpunks with about 50 people on email newsletter, where Satoshi just dropped this in, to then boom, to the 200 million people that are using Bitcoin today.
And this has evolved into basically photoshopped animals.
I know. Satoshi would be rolling in his grave if you could fucking see it now.
Well, I think he's just hidden away, whoever it is. I think he obviously took security seriously from the start.
Yeah, that's part of his genius, right? He was so active on the internet. Like, he obviously had to drop a white paper in, he had to email people, then he was responding on forums, and people have tried to track his email, tried to track his posts, his IP addresses, what time he was posting, what language he was posting in, how he did his grammar, all these types of stuff. and no one can get him back to even a country. And it's just like Satoshi, man. He knows his privacy. You're not going to track him. Right? All the servers just go to dead ends. It's like there's one in the Ukraine, and there's one in Belarus, and there's one in Russia. It's like we don't know where he was. Like all these are just like red herrings. It's like it's fucking Satoshi, dude. You're not going to find who that is. Yeah. So he's a legend. So 700,000 blocks. We got it's our last story, isn't it? Finally.
What was 700,000? Or we got another one?
We got one. I added it. I added it to your and finally one. It's one of my tweets.
Fucking hell, what have you tweeted now?
This is a great tweet. There's a great story. Weirdly, this is a bit of a callback to one of our earlier podcasts. We were talking about transgender people fighting in MMA.
God, we're really trying to get cancelled tonight.
And we've had our first transgender fight.
This isn't the first one.
Well, I think it is.
No, it was the one who ran man to woman and fractured the other woman fighter's head, skull, and then they said, "Oh no, that it's just a freak," and then she did exactly the same.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the second one, but I've seen the picture of the guy when he was a Marine, and it's just like Jesus Christ, he's a killing machine.
Yeah, this guy is massive. I reckon he was prepping on steroids when he was a man, and he is fucking huge. And and I watched the fight. I googled it and found this fight, and weirdly, he's not a good fighter. He can't fight. So in the first round, the girl that he is fighting is much taller, longer reach, and was just picking him off and like busted his nose up. But in the second round, he just got pissed off, grabbed her, wrestled her to the floor, broke her jaw. So she was like pissing out blood. I think blood was pissing out of her mouth, and then just grabbed her throat and like yanked it back. And she just tapped. And then she was pissing out blood and couldn't speak at the end because her jaw was broken because he yanked it so hard. And it was like, it literally was just perfect like illustration of like a strong man against a talented technical woman, where technique, she was easily better than him. And he just got pissed off, realizing he was losing the fight, grabbed her, ragdolled her to the floor, and basically ripped her neck off. And it was like, that is why men shouldn't fight women, because we can just win on pure strength, not anything to do with technique. And it's exactly what happened. Because if that was a fair fight where he was not as muscly as he was, he loses that fight to that woman all day long. She was technically brilliant. But yeah, and I obviously put the South Park image in there with this like big, muscly, freaking like bearded man holding up the medal for like the #1 women boxer. It's like yet again, South Park get it right.
Exactly. Yeah, I saw this story. I'm sure there's another MMA fighter who broke 2 skulls. When they said the first one, it shouldn't have happened. Maybe I've heard it wrong. And there's been, obviously other examples which I've read about, and I think it kind of backs onto the end of that. Or was it Laura or something? Who's a New Zealand weightlifter? Admittedly, yeah. She didn't win, but I watched her list, and it's almost like she just didn't even try because the amount of flack which she was getting.
Yeah, she's already the world record holder. She just went to the Olympics and then threw it.
Yeah, I kind of watched her, and it's like she didn't even put the effort in. It was
it
was weird.
Yeah, and she did like double that weight before. She's the world record holder already. She already won all the world champions. So she already let the cat out the bag.
Yes,
he did.
Because I know that on that one is leading up to a lot of that was probably most publicity which anything's got. Yeah. So I think there's just too much pressure for her to actually do it, to show what she could do. Yeah. I don't think it's about the whole trans versus women. I think it's just the whole media storm which is going on. Because I think Bruce Jenner stepped in and said this shouldn't be allowed because it's physical. Not Bruce Jenner. What's her name now? Caitlyn Jenner, is it?
Yeah.
Said this shouldn't be allowed. I'm pretty sure it was her. And then she got labelled as a transphobe. I kid you not.
Even though it's like, look, I used to have a dick down here, and there's now a vagine.
Yeah, exactly.
How can I be transphobe? I'm one of them.
It's someone who is transsexual, but very publicly known person, and used to be a pro athlete. Was, I think, America's like darling in the 70s when he smashed various different records for running. So everyone loved him because I think he had various gold medals.
Yeah, he was Olympic gold medal, yeah.
Yeah, so he knows what it is to win. He knows what it's to compete, and for him to come out and say that it's not fair at all, I wouldn't argue with that. Yeah. We just seem to have lost our way on these things.
I know, and this is why like obviously I love MMA, but I know how dangerous that sport is. I've seen it every week when I watch it, and when I see transgender men come into women's sport, I just think, well, it's just disappointing because you're going to take medals off the women, but normally there's no direct damage dealt, if they're weightlifting or running or jumping, whatever it might be.
But I disagree, because people have spent the hours, they've dedicated their life to the sport being the best and know they can be the best, and then for someone to have an unfair advantage against them and take it away, I do disagree with that.
No, I agree with you, as in like they are taking away their achievements, but they're not directly damaging their face and like taking their health. Like it's just you're competing separately. So if someone just beats me, it's like, fine, I don't get the gold medal, I have to take silver today. I still think you stole the gold medal from that woman. You undoubtedly did. But in MMA, it is so much more brutal. Not only do you steal their achievement, you break their face. This is a fight. It's a fight to a certain extent to the death, where you have to tap or be knocked out cold before you lose. And the way I saw that girl lose against this guy was so brutal, and she couldn't talk afterwards. She was trying to like smile, and she couldn't smile because her jaw was broken and she was bleeding out of her mouth. Like, this is just abuse. This is a man fighting a woman. Shouldn't happen. What the hell are we doing? Like, I'm all for equality, but Jesus Christ, we're going too far here. We should not be having men fighting women. Like, women, I agree with women should be allowed to fight if they want to fight. Absolutely. But fight over women, Jesus. Now they're fighting men, and this guy was a tough guy. He was in the army. He's an angry guy, big. Obviously, probably did his steroids back in the day. Now, fine, he reckons he could bench 300 pounds at his top, and now he reckons he can only bench 200 or something. He's like, yeah, I'm so much weaker now that I've had to take all the women's hormones. I'm like, you're still benching 200, mate. Show me another woman that can bench 200. And he's massive. And he went in and he nearly ripped this girl's head off. I'm like,
so
how far do you have to go until a woman dies? That's why I think this stops when a woman dies in the ring, being smashed to pieces by a man.
I kind of hope it doesn't happen though.
So I think it's going to take something like that for this to stop.
So, kind of talking about this, because you labelled it as fiat fighting. Yeah. How do you fit it into Bitcoin? This topic.
Yeah, it's because this is the whole. It feeds back into this like fat, lazy community that are worried about tiny issues as opposed to the real ones. So we're fat, we're lazy, no one's working, everyone's sat at home, and we're worried about racism, transgender, sexism, or all these bollocks kind of small issues. When in reality, your entire economy is being taken over by China, and no one's doing anything of value in your like community. And
half the people which are being driven into poverty at the moment. Yeah,
so it's all driven from inflation. People have given up, and it's the whole divide and conquer. So our governments are making us turn on each other and go worry about the small stuff. So we're worried about which toilet some girl can piss in, as opposed to how do we get out and manufacture our way out of some type of independence, so we're not reliant on 70% of our products coming from China. No one is thinking about these things. Instead, we're focusing on making sure some guy that's had his dick chopped off can fight a woman in the ring and smash her face in. No, we should not be allowing these things and like worrying about them and making sure these things happen more. We should just be focusing on the big stuff. And on a Bitcoin standard, people will be motivated to do it. They won't get free handouts from government. They won't have time to worry about this bullshit. They will realize a lot of this bullshit is funded by fiat that goes into the media that gets us to worry about stuff that doesn't exist. So we don't think about the real issue, which is the fact is the people at the top hyperinflating our money and keeping us poor. Inflation.
I think bits of it can always be debated. disputed, but I think there's some very good points around there because we are worrying about. We say it's a minor point. People would disagree, but I think we got to look at some life and death situations. So at present, I looked at how we could, how could I retire? How could I retire on an all right wage? So I was trying to figure this out based upon inflation of, I think I did 3%. And I would need millions to have an all right retirement, nothing too flashy, holidays to somewhere like Portugal, manage to stay in my house, which I live, and so on. And it was millions. It was millions. It was like unbelievable amounts of money. And this is, I'm someone who's planning for my retirement. Whereas I know plenty of people
who put it into cash though, because even if you don't believe in Bitcoin, you'd put it into the stock market and make 10%.
Yeah, exactly. But if you look at it from another perspective, of people who are my age who are not as proactive, how are they going to retire? It's literally you're going to be worked into the ground because we are on that massive trajectory of inflation where we're getting devalued so much, and I think this is it kind of is a bit of a weird point that we're arguing about this, where we're not looking going in 30 years' time, how are you going to retire?
Yeah.
You're going to be working till you're dead at the moment because you won't be able to afford, or you'll be homeless. It's going to be horrendous if we keep on going the way we are.
Yeah.
And that's a big issue.
And you're thinking about that as well for people our age. Now relay it down to your kids. Their wages will be even less. House prices will be even more. Their student loans will be even more. It's just getting worse. And instead, we're worried about what toilet some 5-year-old can piss in and whether they've got a mask or they're vaccinated or not. What the hell are we talking about? None of those things matter. What matters is, can that kid just earn a good wage, get a good education, and just live a nice life and bring up a family?
Yeah, not be worked into the grave and not have to work silly amounts of hours to support their family.
Yeah, and if they want to work 9 to 5 until they're 70, they can knock themselves out. But in reality, it's like if you work hard and do a good job, because this is the thing, I don't know if it was on this one, but I looked into it the other day where they'd done 100-year before and after, and they went 100 years ago, the average wage was $9,000. But then the average house price was like 24 grand, 27. So basically it was 3 years' wages. And then they fast forwarded and they went 100 years later, the average wage was 30 grand. The average house price was 300,000. So the house price had more than 10x, but the wages had 3x. And you just go,
yeah, I think I saw the same infographic which you did.
This is what's happening, right? This is basically our grandparents grew up in that world. They grew up in a world where the average salary was less than 10 grand, but you would the average mortgage length was 7 years. You would pay off your mortgage in 7 years, and then so you could pretty much choose at that point. You had your home. Imagine being the average person paying off their mortgage in 7 years. Essentially, this is why people were married and had kids all in their 20s, because their house was paid off by the time they were 30, and you pretty much had your entire 30s and onwards. You could literally decide what you wanted to do. You could dedicate your life to your family. You could have a career. You could do whatever you wanted. In the world we live in today, where I think we're right on the limit, where if you want a career and a family, you can just about do it in our generation. I think that breaks for our kids coming through. I don't think they can do that now. I think it's just too expensive. Wages are too low. House prices are too high. They almost just, if you want a family, you've almost got to agree to be in poverty, because it means at some point someone's going to have to drop out and not have a wage. The kids are going to be so expensive. You're not going to be able to afford it. The house price is going to be crazy. And if anything, what they will be doing is leaving debt to their kids, because they wouldn't have paid off their mortgage. They wouldn't even have a house. It's like, yeah, you can have the house, but you have to also inherit 300 grand worth of debt as well. So maybe you just sell it and take some equity, but then you're like,
or everyone lives in my grandparents' house.
Yeah, I honestly, this is why I think this, like, we just need hyper Bitcoinization ASAP, because if this goes on for another generation, I honestly, I think it just implodes anyway. So I think it's just one of those things that
I think we very much are at the end, and it's how it happens. And like the petrodollar's dying, it's like you could argue the reduction in or dependence upon petrol will cause it by getting moved into electrical cars, but they're going to find something else. I know I've heard some various theories which may be incorrect, but they've led it onto the various other things. So they're not going to give it up about the fight, but it is a flawed currency. And, we talk about various things which I think are either conspiracies or on the verge of conspiracies, but the fact is inflation is not. Just look at the data. The data is there for you to see.
And the graph goes like this. That's the monetary supply. It's weird. Like just another little anecdotal example. Literally from today, I just went out to this pub and went out for lunch, and they just randomly closed. They went, "Oh yeah, we have to close." I was like, "What? Why are you closing?" They're like, "We have no staff. The staff haven't turned up. We've been trying to hire for months, and no one wants the jobs." I went, I just took this opportunity to go, "Oh, talk to me more about this." Like, well, how? What's going on? They're like, "Yeah, all the students have come back, but none of them want jobs, and we've been hiring. We've been trying to get them in. We've even upped the wage. We're like £2 above minimum wage." And I'm just like, this is yet another little signal where random, just good businesses where I would kill for that job when I was young, to try and get in and then work for like freaking £2.50 an hour or something to wait tables. And now we've got to this point where everyone is so wealthy. Pubs, literally, they kicked us out at 3:00 because when we have no staff, I need to go pick up my kids and I have no one to look after the place. So I got to close up. And I've never done this for 15 years of running this place. I've never had to close like this. I've always had staff.
So the kids wouldn't work. I don't really get how that works.
Because everyone's just too rich. This is a whole sign of society, right? Everyone's on furlough. Everyone's lazy. Everyone's been used to being on lockdown. They've gone off to university. They're accepting the free money. And I just don't think people have a work ethic. And we haven't got, people aren't hungry. And they're too worried about sitting on Facebook and Twitter all day arguing about transgender rights. And voting for
God, here we go. More cancellation.
Voting for actually, here's a little thing before we go is, did you see the pictures that come out from the gala from last night? There's
gala?
Every year there's this big gala in America. I'm not really sure what it is, and everyone seems to virtue signal at this gala. So AOC turned up. You know who she is, right? She's
she's the New Jersey. She's the one who everyone loves because she's young, attractive, black.
But she's a socialist, yeah.
Yeah.
So this gala, it's 30 grand per seat to sit at a table, have a meal and a load of wine. She comes in this beautiful white dress. And on the back, it says, "Tax the rich." And then there's another woman that comes in with a massive gown, a massive, what's it called? Cape on the back of it. And it says, "Equality for women," all the way down the back of it. And next to her is a whole line of waitresses, all with masks on. And she's sat there right in the middle in a gown on a red carpet, no mask. Equality for women. And it's and then AOC is standing there, "Tax the rich." You're at a 30 grand fucking seat meal, love.
Yeah, and I think that AOC, if you actually found all the kind of incomings into her accounts, she's going to be a multimillionaire, isn't she?
Just if you want to define virtue signaling, those two examples, I find something better. You're saying tax the rich at a 30 grand a seat meal. You're clearly the rich. You're saying tax yourself? Oh, no, not me. That guy. Yeah, of course you are. Equality for women. A proud woman standing there like this, all fucking a line of waitresses all masked up. You don't mean equality for women. You mean equality for rich people. The poor that are going to serve you your drinks and your food are all masked up behind you. What the?
So how are you going to end this episode? I did the really poor intro. You got to do the ends.
Okay. Well, this is, what episode are we on? Episode 22. And it's been a good episode, I think. Bullish Bitcoin banter and bullshit. Episode 22. Over and out. Let's get out of here.
Au revoir.
Have fun staying poor, bitches.
Yeah. Fellow plebs, if you want to hear us, then yeah, tune in.